Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto was the son of a goddess. Kurama had a jutsu to save him. The only problem? It didn't quite work as intended. And now Naruto is reborn in a world where gods and monsters roam the lands. Thankfully, this time around, he has a mother with the most striking silver eyes the same color as the moon. Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 5, The Art of Persuasion. Naruto glanced down at his hand. It was trembling. His instincts were practically screaming at him to run and go save Artemis. Thankfully, this was nowhere near the level of Kurama's initial hatred that had always made Naruto go berserk, and so Naruto was able to quickly calm himself down. The prophecy the oracle just gave sounded ominous, even though it reminded Naruto of Apollo's poetry. Wait. The oracle is simply the medium through which Apollo gives his prophecies. Which meant that was Apollo's poetry. Naruto's eye twitched as he suddenly felt unclean. Has that ever happened before? Nico asked excitedly, pointing at the oracle. Chiron glanced at him, distracted. Oh, you mean the floating oracle? No, never. Will we get to see it float back? Nico stared intently at the oracle, as if expecting it to take flight at any moment. Chiron opened his mouth to speak but froze. That, he began cautiously, is a really good question. Immediately, everyone looked at the oracle. It didn't move, just sat there on the rock. I don't like where this is going, Percy muttered. Chiron clapped his hands together cheerfully. All right, campers. Looks like the oracle is going to remain an inanimate mummy for now, so I need 2 volunteers to carry her back. Anyone? The campers all determinedly avoided Chiron's gaze. Chiron frowned. Really? Come on. Being a hero isn't all about slaying monsters, you gotta do the mundane work as well. It builds character. Every camper smartly kept their silence. Chiron sighed. Oh, very well. He pulled out a pile of sticks from his pouch. Let's draw straws. The campers all groaned. Chiron, this isn't fair. Connor yelled. The oracle came out by herself, why can't she get herself back? Did you just volunteer? Chiron asked with a raised eyebrow. Connor smiled. Did you say draw straws? I am. In. Come on, gimme one. That's what I thought. One by one, the campers filed along and each drew a straw from Chiron's hand. Percy is the smallest, Travis snickered. Percy was too busy looking at his straw in horror to react to Travis. Oh gods. I don't want to touch that thing. Please. Please. He looked desperately at Chiron. This has to be a mistake. I can't do this. Fair is fair, Percy. Who has the second shortest straw? Speak up now, Chiron called. Grover bleated in despair, a forlorn look on his face and the second shortest straw in his hand. Why? Why me? I'm allergic to dead people. Chiron chuckled. Oh, if I had a drachma for every time I've heard that excuse. Anyway, off you go. The oracle isn't going anywhere by herself. As Percy and Grover walked over to the oracle with the same air as condemned men walking to the gallows, Naruto suddenly burst out laughing. Chiron looked at him, confused. Is everything all right, Naruto? I admit, today's events have been rather hectic. Naruto waved off his concerns, still chuckling. Oh, no, it's nothing. I just realized something. If you say so, Chiron shot him one last concerned glance. He's probably seen his fair share of demigods snapping, and announced to everyone, if you're a cabin leader, come to the big house. I'm calling an emergency council meeting. Everyone else, early winter lights out. Go back to bed. Yo, Nico, Travis called. I gotta go to this meeting. Can you show Naruto around? Nico nodded. Yup. Sweet. Oh, and there's a pack of cards on your bed. Travis gave Nico a meaningful glance as he walked to the big house. Keep it. Nico groaned exasperatedly. For the last time, poker is not better than mythomagic. Come on, Naruto, let's get away from this heretic. Naruto paused. Actually, Nico, I need to go talk to Kirin first. I want to join this quest. Nico's eyes grew impossibly wide. No way, he breathed. That's awesome. Good luck. I'll save you a bed. Naruto smiled. Thanks, Nico. Kirin simply stood there, gazing off into the distance, a serious expression on his face as the campers and hunters dispersed. He made a strange hand sign, a three-fingered claw over his heart, then he pushed it outward, as if warding off something. Must be a centaur thing. Hey Kirin. Naruto said while approaching Kirin. Kirin turned and looked at him. Yes, Naruto. Can I come to the meeting? Naruto asked. Kirin shook his head. I'm afraid not. Please. No. You aren't a cabin leader. Lord Apollo sent me. No, wait, what? Kirin stared at Naruto incredulously. Are you for real? Naruto nodded. Yeah. Kirin's eyes widened slightly. Oh? Interesting. Very well, then. Follow me. Success. Naruto shot a smirk upwards where Apollo was undoubtedly watching him. Ha. Sucks, doesn't it, Lord Apollo? What are you gonna do about it? Hopefully, Apollo didn't hear that. He couldn't read thoughts. Right? That couldn't have possibly counted as a prayer. Naruto was probably going to pay for that later. Why did Lord Apollo send you? Kirin asked curiously as they made their way to the big house. Because Lady Artemis was captured, and Apollo is worried for her, so he sent me to join this quest to retrieve her, Naruto explained. No, you misunderstand. I'm well aware of Lord Apollo's affection for Lady Artemis. My question is, why did Lord Apollo send you? Naruto paused. Did you not see how I blocked Thalia's lightning bolt? Or kicked that Hunter Tiara girl to the ground? Oh gods, that sounds terrible when I put it that way. Kirin made a noise of understanding. I see, I see. Forgive me, your young age makes it easy to forget the extent of your abilities. Sometimes, Naruto forgot that he had the appearance of a 10-year-old. At least Kirin didn't mention his height. Your small stature also masks your power. It's not my fault I'm short. He had been tall once. Before he had been reborn. Thank the gods he's aging at an accelerated rate. Oh no. Oh no no no. Naruto? Are you alright? Kirin asked concernedly. You just paled considerably. It's nothing, Naruto whispered. Did he have to go through puberty again? He shook his head in denial. There was no way. He'll find a solution. With magic, perhaps. He doesn't want to go through puberty again. May I ask what you had found so funny earlier? Kirin inquired. Naruto tilted his head. What are you, oh? That. He smirked. I wouldn't call myself a master at seeing through the mist, but I'm adequate. And I'm almost certain that the straws were all the same size. Chirin's eyes widened before he chuckled. You are the first in a long time to see through it. You are correct, I manipulated the mist to make it so that Percy and Grover would be the ones to carry back the oracle. Why? Kirin shrugged. Why not? Fair enough. For future's reference, the hunter you sent to the ground was Zoe Nightshade. Please, do not refer to her as the Hunter Tiara girl, I'd like to avoid a major incident. Naruto grinned sheepishly. My bad. I already asked you once before, but in light of new information, I'll ask again. Naruto, do you know your Olympian parent? They reached the big house porch. Kirin backed up into his wheelchair, reverting to wheelchair form. No, Naruto answered. Kirin raised his left eyebrow. Really? He asked doubtfully. Really, Naruto nodded nervously. Kirin didn't seem convinced, but he didn't push further. Naruto walked and Kirin wheeled into the rec room. There was a ping-pong table in the middle, and the counselors were setting up chairs. Mr. D sat at one end of the table. He had materialized a leather couch for himself and was currently sipping from a can of Diet Coke and reading a wine magazine. Chiron wheeled over to sit next to him. At the other end, Zoe and Bianca were staring at the occupants of the room. Bianca looked confused and slightly nervous, while Zoe looked extremely disgruntled. Thalia, Grover, and Percy sat along the right and Beckendorf, Silena, and the Stahl brothers sat along the left. They all frowned when they saw Naruto walk in. "Naruto?" Percy spoke up. "What are you doing here?" "Attending the meeting." Percy's frown deepened, but before he could say anything else, Zoe began the meeting. "This is pointless." Naruto blinked. "Okay then. There is no time for talk. Lady Artemis needs us." Zoe gazed around the room defiantly. "We must leave immediately." "And go where?" Chiron asked innocently. "West." Bianca said confidently. "You heard the prophecy, 5 shall go west to the goddess in chains." "West," Chiron repeated dryly. "How specific?" "Artemis is being held hostage," Zoe continued. "We must find her and free her. I can ready a group of hunters and leave immediately." Thalia rolled her eyes. "Did you not hear the prophecy? Campers and hunters combined prevail. As much as I hate the idea, we have to work together." Naruto smiled. "Teamwork. Kakashi-sensei would be so proud of the oracle." Zoe scowled. "We do not need thy help." "The prophecy says you do need our help." Chiron steepled his fingers together. "Campers and hunters must cooperate. Unless you wish to go against a prophecy. That doesn't mean that a camper must go with us on the quest," Zoe said stubbornly. "Campers could just be metaphorical for something else. Perhaps if we took some Hephaestus-cabin-made weapons, it would count as combined." Chiron didn't even dignify that with a reply, instead just raising his eyebrows skeptically. Zoe held his stare for a moment before sighing. "Very well." Chiron smiled serenely. "I'm glad you agree. Now that you have fulfilled your moral obligation to argue against any form of cooperation with campers, let us proceed with analyzing the situation. Lady Artemis needs to be rescued immediately and without any delay," Bianca said. "That's literally the situation. What else do we need to analyze?" "Zoe," Chiron said, aghast. "What have you been teaching her? I know that she's new and all, but come on. She hasn't gotten to advanced questing yet." Zoe waved her hand. "Bianca, when going on a quest, information analysis is essential to maximize the chances of success. We must first establish common facts and inferences so that everyone is on the same page. After all, if even one person is unaware of a vital fact, it could end badly." "Advanced questing?" Thalia asked. "Hunters go on quests perhaps once a century. Why do you have a class for that?" Zoe smirked. "We have a class for everything. We're the hunters of Artemis, after all. And also, every few decades, Lord Apollo would visit and give us a prophecy personally." She paused. "We don't know if they're real prophecies, but we still follow them, just in case it's actually genuine." Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose. "Apollo. In any case, since we are forced to take the campers along with us, it's best to do the analysis right now with them," Zoe continued. "Ah, understood," Bianca nodded. "The winter solstice is in 5 days, an annual council meeting," Zoe stated. Dionysus groaned. "Please, don't remind me. As if monthly meetings aren't bad enough. You won't believe how boring these meetings are." Nobody looked sympathetic. Artemis's presence at this meeting is critical. She has been one of the most vocal on the council alongside Lady Athena arguing for action against the Titans. Zoe's expression darkened, but it cleared up so quickly, Naruto wasn't sure if it actually happened. "If she is absent, then the gods will not decide on anything, and we will lose another year of war preparations, causing the gods to be entirely and utterly unprepared for the inevitable Titan uprising." Dionysus leaned forward. "Oh? Is that your opinion of the gods?" Zoe stared back, not intimidated in the slightest. "It's not an opinion, it's a fact." Dionysus nodded. "You're right, of course. I was just checking." The inefficiency of the council is almost amazing. Did you all know that I once had to sit through a 3-hour debate between Athena and Hephaestus on the basic rights of automatons? It was dreadful. Beckendorf straightened up. You know, that's actually a fascinating topic. After all, we are capable of giving automatons the ability to feel pain. But is that morally allowed? Is it even true pain? Dionysus glared at Beckendorf. Purple flames flickered within his eyes, and the scent of grapes filled the room, giving Naruto visions of insanity and madness. Did I ask? Beckendorf gulped. I'll shut up now. How wise of you. Chiron rubbed his chin. An even more pressing matter is that we must locate the monster Lady Artemis had been hunting. The Bane of Olympus. Zoe's fingers tapped a disjointed rhythm on the table. Even with all the years I've spent hunting with Artemis, I do not know what this beast may be. Is it really that important? Travis asked. I mean, it's just a bane, right? That means that it's an enemy. Olympus has a lot of enemies. This monster will bring the downfall of Olympus, Percy said grimly. Thorn said it, and Artemis confirmed it. Naruto's eyes widened. What was this monster? This world's equivalent of the Biju? Chiron sighed. I'm afraid that even with my many millennia's worth of knowledge, I do not know what it could be. Everyone turned to look at Dionysus. Dionysus glanced up from his wine magazine. What? Sir, you're a god, Thalia began. Surely you know. Dionysus sighed. I may be a god, but I'm a young god. Why would I care about all these ancient monsters? The only ones on the council who even bothers to keep track of them are Artemis, Athena, and Apollo. The rest, including me, don't really care. I can see why the council would be doomed without Artemis, Percy muttered. Quiet, unless you wish to experience the world through the eyes of a dolphin. Apollo? Seriously? Naruto asked incredulously. Dionysus paused. Well, okay, Apollo's only on the list because of his prophecy powers, and they're hit or miss most of the time, so I doubt he knows what this monster is. Naruto relaxed. Okay, good. If Apollo was actually responsible, then Naruto would have to check the skies because pigs will be flying. Chiron, you don't have any idea at all? Percy asked. I have ideas, Chiron responded. However, none of them make sense. It's not Typhon. If it was Typhon, then we would know. How would we know? Beckendorf asked. Did Dad build a detection system? Not quite, Chiron shook his head. If Typhon was loose, then we would know because the United States would suddenly be struck with a series of natural disasters, at least, according to the mortals. An unprecedented amount of destruction would occur. Oh. Quito would also certainly fit the description of the Bane of Olympus. However, if it had been stirring, then Poseidon would surely know. Quito, for all her power, doesn't exactly know the definition of subtlety. Chiron pursed his lips. The monster that Artemis was hunting. It's elusive. And I fear it may be even more powerful. There was a moment of silence at that declaration. Oh well, Chiron sighed. I doubt we will correctly guess the identity of the monster, so let us not waste any more time. One shall be lost in the land without rain, Thalia said. Deserts will be dangerous. There was a muttering of agreement. What? No. Naruto objected. Thalia turned to him in surprise. What do you mean? I don't think there's a desert in the US where it's never rained before. Little rain, perhaps, but the prophecy said land without rain, implying that it's never rained before, Naruto explained. It's much more likely that the prophecy is referring to a place where it's magically charmed to never rain. Oh, that makes sense, Thalia froze. Suddenly, everyone looked around nervously. Naruto frowned. What's the problem? Camp Half-Blood is a place magically charmed to never rain, Grover crunched on a cracker, eyes darting around anxiously. Percy sighed. Come on, guys. Don't you remember? It rained 2 years ago, when Zeus had gotten mad at me. A beat. I had forgotten about that, Chiron admitted. You see, A demigod had never enraged Zeus so much to the point of him making it rain. You have a gift, Percy. Gee, thanks. Not to mention the Titan's curse, Silena brought up. What could it be? Naruto's eyes narrowed when he saw Chiron and Zoe exchange a look of apprehension and fear. They knew something. I do not know for certain, but... Chiron trailed off when Zoe shook her head. If you do not know for certain, then let us move on, there's no time to waste. One shall perish by a parent's hand, Thalia said grimly. A heavy silence descended upon the table. Naruto glanced around, frowning. Why did everyone start looking at Thalia and Percy? Oh. They were children of the big three, and... As much as Naruto hated it, there was a good chance that Zeus and Poseidon would strike them down before they reached 16. He clenched his fists. Anyway, Chiron redirected the conversation. Let us decide on the quest members. I will take 2 campers at most. Zoe stared at Chiron, daring him to challenge her. He wisely conceded with a nod of his head. Phoebe will come with me, she's my best tracker. Ah, the daughter of Ares. I remember her, Chiron smiled thinly. She had been the one to lead the charge against the campers when all-out warfare broke out when the camp began burning down. Zoe coughed. She already apologized for that. Isn't she the girl that hit me on the head? Travis asked cautiously. Zoe nodded. And she's the one who likes to take down people whenever they get 3 feet within her. Connor added. Yes, Zoe tilted her head. Why? Nothing. We saw her admiring this shirt earlier. Travis held up a big silver t-shirt that said Artemis the Moon Goddess, Fall Hunting Tour 2002 with a list of national parks underneath. It's a collector's item. You want to give it to her? Oh, that shirt looks awesome. Naruto said happily as he reached over and snatched it out of Travis's hand before he could react. Thanks, dude. Naruto, give that back. Travis snapped. Naruto inclined his head. I will, once you tell me why this shirt smells so weird. Connor froze before laughing nervously. What are you talking about? Zoe glared at the Stahl brothers. Naruto, please elaborate. I can smell blood on this shirt, but it's not normal blood. It has a trace of acidity, if you know what I mean. Zoe's eyes narrowed even more. Give me the shirt, Naruto. Naruto passed her the shirt. She examined it closely before sniffing it. I do not smell anything weird. See? Travis said triumphantly. It's nothing. Hey wait, what are you doing? Zoe experimentally stuck her pinky finger into the inside of the shirt and immediately jerked back, hissing in pain. Her finger steamed and turned red. Blood. Centaur blood. She turned to the Stahl brothers, who were grinning nervously. Oops. Did we grab the wrong shirt? Connor's eyes were wide, the very epitome of innocence. Zoe's hand blurred and a second later a hunting dagger embedded itself in the wall behind Travis. A small cut opened up on his cheek. Okay, that's not fair, he whined. Why me? Why didn't you go for Connor? You took one for the team, Connor patted Travis on the back. Don't worry. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. Isn't centaur blood poisonous? Bianca glared at the Stahl brothers. In fact, didn't it kill Heracles? Zoe's eyes flickered imperceptibly at the name. Whoa. Travis held up his hands defensively. We diluted the blood. At worst, it would have made her break out in hives for several weeks. Why would you do that? Bianca demanded. She broke my arm yesterday. She broke 3 of my ribs. Bianca paused. Oh. Chiron smiled cheerfully. In any case, Connor, Travis, congratulations. Connor and Travis looked at each other, then at Chiron warily. What for? For the rest of this month, you two will be responsible for everything around the camp, Chiron nodded. Stables cleaning, kitchen duty, everything. What? Travis cried out indignantly. Why? Don't tell me you actually care that we laced that shirt with centaur blood. Phoebe wouldn't have died, and besides, she already injured numerous campers. You can't do that. That's not fair. Connor shouted. Chiron slammed his fist down on the table, silencing them both. A crack formed on the surface. Holy hell, Chiron was strong. Connor. Travis. Chiron began dangerously, a menacing glint in his eyes. Do you two fools have any idea what would have happened if Phoebe did put on that shirt and got injured? Connor hesitantly said, she'll be incapacitated for a few weeks. You fool. Chiron bellowed. I'd have to fill out at least 5 different incident reports. Lady Artemis, once she is freed, would go absolutely ballistic. Funding for the camp, cut in half. She will swamp me in paperwork. He breathed heavily. Do you understand just how bad Olympian paperwork is? Gods don't die. They live forever. Doing paperwork for a week straight, that's considered normal to them. Dionysus snickered. Imagine having to do paperwork. With all respect, Lord Dionysus, Chiron said politely, shut your mouth. Naruto's eyes widened as he turned to Dionysus, half expecting him to inflict Chiron with a terrible madness. Dionysus, for his part, simply chuckled. As you wish, my dear friend. As long as you keep on doing all my paperwork for me, I'll shut up whenever you want. Oh. That's how it was. We've gotten off track. Zoe tapped her fingers on the table. For the next quest member, I wish Bianca to go. Bianca looked stunned. What? Me? I'm new. You'll do fine, Zoe insisted. Think of it as proving thyself. Besides, and here, she shared a glance with Chiron again. I can sense that you are strong. Chiron shot her a sorrowful look, which Naruto didn't really understand. Bianca bit her lip. Oh, okay then. She straightened up, and the faint silver glow on her skin intensified a bit. I'll go save Lady Artemis. I don't get it, Percy spoke up, a confused expression on his face. Get what? Zoe asked. Bianca is more than competent enough to do well on this quest. Besides, didn't you go on thy first quest when you were only 12 years old? Percy waved it off. No, I'm not talking about that. I don't get how Naruto was able to smell that there was something off about that shirt, but Grover wasn't. Everyone went silent as they thought over Percy's words. Hey, Grover said in between bites of, was he eating an aluminum can? Ever since we met Lady Artemis, my senses have been a little wonky. I mean, how else would you explain that Naruto has Lady Artemis's scent? Naruto went unnaturally still. Oh no. Satyrs and their ridiculously good sense of smell. Zoe leaned forward, intrigued. Say what now? Are you saying that Naruto smells like Lady Artemis? Grover nodded. Yeah. I noticed it this afternoon. Silena frowned. How is that possible? Damn. Damn. This was bad. This was really bad. It's time for even more Kakashi-sensei level bullshitting. To understand that. Well, let me reveal why I'm even at this meeting first. Naruto looked at Zoe determinedly. I wish to go on this quest. The moment of silence was broken by Dionysus's laugh. Oh, they sure like to start young, don't they? Die young, too. Denied, Zoe said flatly. I will not take you along for this quest. She froze, as did everyone else in the room. The walls trembled and the ping-pong table shook as a massive force exploded out from Naruto. The incredible pressure weighed down on every occupant as they all felt the sheer intent behind the chakra, not the suffocating, oppressive killing intent but rather the iron will of a shinobi that has already lost too much and isn't willing to lose any more. I'm afraid you will, Naruto spoke in a low, dangerous tone. You see, Lord Apollo sent me to join this quest. I'm sure that you of all people should know just how much Apollo cares for Artemis, and while he may be bound by the ancient laws to not directly interfere in this quest, indirect interference through a hero is allowed. And he sent you? Zoe asked in disbelief. Oh come on. Naruto complained. You too? What, do you and Chiron both have no faith in my powers? I assure you, what you have seen tonight was but a fraction of my power. Gods, he sounded like an Uchiha. Lord Apollo sent me because he is fully confident in my skill and abilities. Thalia hesitated. Say what you will, Zoe, but he did stop my lightning bolt with his bare hands. Not quite, Naruto interrupted. I stopped it with my chakra. Chakra. Chiron repeated. It's my unique power, a spiraling blue sphere formed in Naruto's hand. Grover leaped back, almost falling over his chair in surprise. Silena gazed at it with admiration in her eyes. Clearly, as a child of Aphrodite, she appreciated aesthetic things, and while the Rasengan was a jutsu meant for killing, it was also pretty, although Naruto will always deny that. Beckendorf leaned forward in interest, analyzing it less on its aesthetics and more on its structure. Whoa! Percy leaned forward, getting a better look. Why didn't you show this to us this afternoon? That looks awesome. Zoe narrowed her eyes, and Naruto could see the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. Naruto nodded approvingly. As a hunter, her instincts must be screaming at her that this was dangerous. What is that? She hissed. It's chakra. My unique power. The Rasengan fizzled out. Specifically, the thing I just created is called the Rasengan. I used it to block Thalia's lightning bolt. I guess the light from the lightning covered it up. Is it magic? Thalia asked. No. It's chakra. It looks like magic to me. Trust me, it's not. Apollo already confirmed it. If it is magic, it's a type that the gods have never seen before. Isn't that right, Lord Dionysus? Dionysus nodded slowly. From what I have sensed, that power is completely new to me. I have never felt anything like it before. He gazed at Naruto, and, for the first time since Naruto's met him, he looked fully serious. I'll give you one and only one word of warning, use that power wisely. I will, Naruto nodded. Anyway, will you let me go on this quest? Zoe narrowed her eyes, leaning forward. All we have is your word that Lord Apollo sent you. You are new to this camp, nobody knows you, and nobody can vouch for you. How can we even trust what you say? I swear on the river Styx that I am here because of Apollo. Thunder boomed in the distance. Naruto frowned. Does that always happen? Dionysus snorted. The gods, Naruto, have a penchant of being extremely dramatic. Styx is no exception to that rule. Huh. In any case, there you have it, Naruto tilted his head. I assure you, I have one goal and one goal only, and that is to retrieve Lady Artemis. Technically, he had been telling the truth when he swore on the Styx. He was at Camp Half-Blood because of Apollo. If Apollo hadn't told him about Artemis's situation, he wouldn't have come. It may have been a technicality, but given how he wasn't suffering or dying, Styx had accepted it. Well then, Chiron rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Zoe, it is not wise to ignore the gods. Even Lord Apollo. If Lord Apollo wishes for Naruto to join this quest, then... He trailed off meaningfully. Zoe was silent for a moment. I am not foolish, she finally said. Shocker, Thalia muttered. If Lord Apollo wishes for Naruto to join, Zoe continued, then I have no choice. Naruto smiled. Thank you. On one condition, of course. Zoe stared intently at Naruto. Tell me, why do you fight? Thalia frowned. What do you mean? He already told us, he wants to join this quest because Apollo told him to. Zoe shook her head. I highly doubt that is the only reason. Even if they're commanded to do something by the gods, most heroes fight for something, whether it's for glory, honor, riches, or even self-preservation. No male hero possesses such a professionalism that their sole reason for sacrificing themselves is because a god told them to. So I ask you, Naruto, while Apollo may have told you to join the quest to save Lady Artemis, why are you fighting? Oh. So that was the problem. From Zoe's perspective, Naruto's just a little kid who has no ties to Artemis whatsoever. She wished to understand the motivation behind his actions. Naruto gave a mental nod of approval. While it was important to understand your enemies, understanding your comrades is even more important. Can you imagine what it was like to be raised by Apollo? Naruto asked. Zoe's reply was prompt and blunt. Hell. Dionysus snickered. I will pay you to say that to his face. Naruto didn't speak for a moment. You know, you're not wrong. It was hell, but not for the reasons you think. I lived in one of Apollo's temples my entire life. I was never allowed to leave, and nobody was allowed to come in and see me. Zoe's eyes widened. What? Why? Naruto cursed. He didn't come up for a reason for that. Come on, think, it's because he couldn't risk my chakra being discovered by the Titans. That should work. Zoe nodded, satisfied. I see. Yup. Needless to say, life kinda sucked. Naruto's eyes unfocused for a second. For the first part of my life, Apollo was the only being I came in contact with. And even then, he was present for only a few hours a day, if that. I had been completely alone. Then I met Artemis. Naruto smiled. She had been at Apollo's mansion for some reason. When she noticed me, instead of ignoring me and walking away, she took the time to talk to me. And she was kind. After so long, she was the one to rescue me from my loneliness. Zoe's gaze softened slightly. After that, she didn't forget about me. She visited every so often. Once, she even brought a gift. Naruto took out a single silver kunai and tossed it to Zoe. She caught it out of the air and examined the designs etched on the blade, the moon and the bow. And that is why I wish to save Artemis. At that moment, the intensity and determination burning in Naruto's eyes rivaled Amaterasu's flames itself. Because she's someone precious to me. Zoe's eyes widened, and for the first time since Naruto arrived, she looked at him without any distaste whatsoever. I don't care if I have to sacrifice my life, Naruto continued. He clenched his fists. Just. Please. Let me go on this quest. Zoe regarded Naruto pensively for several seconds. Then she nodded. That is a good reason for fighting. She smiled. Welcome to the quest, Naruto. Naruto blinked. It worked. It worked. He grinned brightly. Thank you. I won't let you down. Ah, the joys of having a tragic backstory, Dionysus idly commented. Chiron coughed. Sir, I believe they were having a moment there. Did you really have to interject? Ah, my dear centaur, I interjected because they were having a moment. Before today, you didn't know anyone except for Apollo and Artemis. Percy asked in horrified fascination. I also knew Hestia, Naruto added. She would visit now and then. How are you sane? Beckendorf leaned away from Naruto, as if expecting him to snap at any moment. Naruto shrugged. Why wouldn't I be sane? It's not like he hasn't gone through loneliness once before. To not have any company but Apollo on a daily basis. Thalia tapped her fingers on the table. That sounds terrible. Zoe supplied. Yeah. He's not that bad in small doses, but every single day for years, with nobody else. Thalia shuddered. I mean, he's not too bad, Naruto defended. He's just annoying sometimes. Understatement of the millennia, Zoe muttered. We need one more camper. I'll go. Thalia stood and looked around, daring anyone to question her. Percy questioned her. Whoa, wait a sec, I want to go too. No, Zoe refused. You are a boy. Naruto is a boy too. Yes, but Lord Apollo wishes for Naruto to join the quest. Zoe tilted her head. What's more, Naruto places Lady Artemis above everything else, even his own life. Would you do the same, Percy Jackson? If you had to pick between saving Annabeth and saving Artemis, who would you choose? Percy flinched as if struck. You can't. That's what I thought. I have to go. Percy protested. No, Zoe said flatly. Percy looked to Chiron desperately. Chiron. Chiron sighed sadly. Zoe has the final say on who she takes with her on the quest. I am sorry, Percy. I know how worried you are for Annabeth, but I cannot force her to take you. Naruto actually felt really bad for Percy. He had almost forgotten, but Percy had lost someone precious to him too. So be it, Chiron declared. Naruto and Thalia will accompany Zoe, Phoebe, and Biana. You shall leave at first light. And may the gods, he shot Dionysus a pointed look, Lord Dionysus included, we hope, be with you. Dionysus sighed. Why do you always try to guilt-trip me into helping? It's not going to work. Chiron shrugged. Can't fault a centaur for trying. I'd rather not have to bury my students. On that note, Naruto, while you may be powerful enough that Lord Apollo himself sent you, please, be careful. There are still beings out there more powerful than you. If you shows any signs of arrogance, I'll stab you, Zoe casually added. Naruto gulped. Noted. Wait, Grover said as everyone was getting up. Naruto, you still didn't explain why you smell like Lady Artemis. Naruto blinked. Oh. I'm sorry, Apollo. But I'm afraid I'll have to drag your name through the mud, although to be fair, it was already pretty muddy. Apollo had these Artemis-scented candles all around his mansion. So I guess the smell got soaked into me. Dead silence. Zoe shuddered. I did not need to know that. Bianca, remind me to shoot Apollo in the face the next time I see him. Sorry Apollo. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. Naruto could swear he heard a facepalm come from far, far above. As Naruto made his way back to the Hermes cabin, he caught sight of someone tending to the flames. He smiled and walked over. Hey Hestia, Naruto grinned in greeting. Hestia turned to him, smiling warmly. Hello there, Naruto. I must say, I did not expect to see you tonight. I heard you gave Apollo the slip. Naruto laughed sheepishly. Yeah. He paused. You're not going to try to bring me back, right? Hestia shook her head. Of course not. I assume you came here because you heard that Artemis was captured. Naruto nodded. I joined the quest group. Hestia blinked. Wasn't the quest leader Zoe Nightshade? Yup. How did you convince her? Hestia asked, intrigued. Naruto smirked. I told her that Apollo sent me to join the quest. Hestia's eyes widened in shock before she laughed. That's beautiful. I know, Naruto grinned smugly. The irony is amazing. She also asked for my reason for fighting. Oh. Hestia looked saddened. Yes, she would certainly care about that. Naruto frowned. Why? That is not my story to tell, Hestia sighed. They stood there for a moment, enjoying the pleasant warmth of the hearth. That is a clever disguise you have. I almost didn't recognize you tonight, Hestia tilted her head. Is it your chakra? Naruto nodded. Yup. Henge no jutsu. Allows me to transform into anything. I don't sense any mist cloaking you, Hestia frowned. If you transform into another form, how would we know that it's you? Is there a way? Naruto pursed his lips. Chakra sensing was out. Other than that, I'm fairly certain the only method is by scent. The henge may be a basic E-ranked academy jutsu, but it was extremely useful. Especially Naruto's variants of it. He still couldn't believe reverse harem worked on Kaguya. Hestia nodded. I see. I only recognized you tonight because of your whisker marks. They're hard to miss. Her countenance turned serious. All that aside. How are you doing? What do you mean? Artemis, Hestia said simply. Naruto went still. Oh. I'm okay. Hestia looked at him, concerned. Are you sure? Yeah. Everything's fine. Because we will save her. Naruto said determinedly. Hestia blinked. Your optimism is nice to see. She tilted her head. But how can you be so certain? Naruto grinned. Because I believe I can. There's no point entertaining any doubts or uncertainty, because once you question your own beliefs, it's over. Oh, and there's also the fact that I'll never give up until she's free. Hestia chuckled. So what you're saying is that it doesn't matter what the Titans do, you'll always be persistently trying to save her, like an irritating mosquito that just wouldn't go away. Yup. Naruto confirmed cheerfully. Although I don't like the mosquito metaphor very much. I'd prefer a persistent toad that just wouldn't stop asking you for candy. Hestia inclined her head. Just. Hestia turned to him, a slight hint of worry in her warm, brown eyes. Be prepared for the worst. I don't want to see you broken. Naruto's eyes widened as he was suddenly overcome with a wave of emotion. If he loses Artemis, it would be like losing Jiraiya all over again. It would be like losing his entire world all over again. She was his mother. If she... No. Naruto refused to even begin thinking those thoughts. There was no point in thinking them. After all, Naruto will save Artemis. No matter what. And so, Naruto smiled at Hestia. Don't worry about it. His expression turned a little sad. Besides, I'm strong. Hestia gazed at him for a few moments before sighing tiredly. I don't like the Titans very much. Naruto cracked a small smile. Neither do I. Father is rising. Hestia absently poked at the fire with a stick. When you go on the quest, be careful. He is a master of manipulation and deception. There is a reason why he is called the Crooked One. As long as he isn't a presumed dead puppet, Obito, being controlled by another puppet, Madara, being controlled by another puppet, Black Zetsu, being controlled by its mother, then I think we should be good. I know how to look underneath the underneath. After dealing with Black Zetsu and his machinations, Naruto fully embraced the art of looking underneath the underneath. Kakashi-sensei would be proud. Hestia nodded, deep in thought. She fell silent for a moment. Naruto? Yes. Please don't die on this quest, she murmured quietly. Naruto laughed and rubbed the back of his head. Trust me, I have no intentions of dying. Again. Hestia nodded. Don't do anything foolish. You may be strong, but there are still stronger beings out there. Don't grow arrogant and careless like so many heroes before you had. She looked away. I don't want to lose you. You are the first in a long time that I can call a friend. Naruto drew in a sharp breath as his eyes widened in shock. Then he smiled happily. I'll come back alive and well. I promise. Thank you. And Hestia? Hestia turned to him. Yes. Naruto shot her a beaming smile. You're my friend too. Hestia smiled back warmly. I know. Naruto stretched his arms as he walked towards the Hermes cabin, sighing contentedly as he felt his spine crack. He didn't understand how people in this new world could sit down all day in cubicles. Naruto would go insane after just an hour of not moving. Naruto. A new voice spoke up behind him. Naruto whirled around in surprise, a kunai in his hand. Kirin stood there in horse form. He looked down at the kunai in Naruto's hand. A bit trigger-happy there, Sorry, Naruto apologized as he put the kunai back in his pouch. You surprised me. Kirin had been astonishingly silent, although Kirin was several thousand years old. He may be a teacher, but he was also powerful, probably more powerful than most of the heroes at this camp. It's quite alright, Kirin waved it off. In fact, your reflexes are just what some of the heroes at this camp need. He sighed despairingly. You will not believe how many of them lack an adequate reaction time. A lot. Kirin sighed once more. Sadly, yes. Walk with me, Naruto. I wish to speak with you. Naruto's eyebrows scrunched together in confusion, but he followed Kirin anyway. There was nobody outside, they had all gone back to their cabins. You're about to embark on your first quest tomorrow, Kirin said conversationally. Naruto nodded. Yup. I confess, I am rather concerned that you are going. You have not been at this camp for even a day yet. I haven't taught you anything. Kirin tilted his head. While it may be a little too late for a physical lesson, I suppose the least I can do is give you some advice. Naruto inclined his head, paying close attention. This right here was Kirin, the legendary trainer of heroes. He had been alive for thousands of years. He was perhaps the only person at camp whose combat knowledge and strategy may be greater than Naruto's. Indeed, Naruto considered Kirin to be this world's version of Jiji, the Sandaime Hokage, not in terms of power, but rather, the knowledge and wisdom that gave Jiji the moniker of the Professor. If Kirin was going to give Naruto some advice, then Naruto would listen. Naruto, Kirin stopped and turned to look directly at Naruto, his expression utterly serious. Don't be stupid. Naruto blinked. Huh. For you see, it's almost as if you heroes want to end your existence in the dumbest, most avoidable way possible. Kirin flung up his hands. Do you understand just how difficult it has been for me in the past few thousands of years? The sheer stupidity, lack of foresight, and all-around foolishness of you heroes is almost amazing. Naruto coughed lightly. What? I mean, really? Kirin looked up to the sky. You'd think that after several hundred years, you all will have learned to not provoke the gods. But no. You heroes seem to crave death through acts of gods. It's as if you enjoy not ever being able to collect on insurance. Kirin, are you, okay there? Kirin paused. Forgive me if I'm ranting a little. He stared down at his hands. They were shaking slightly. Perhaps I'm a bit more unsettled by the situation than I had thought. He smiled reassuringly. In any case, the advice I have for you is simple. Don't be stupid. Okay. I'm serious. You haven't attended any of my common sense or self-preservation classes yet, so I'm a little worried. Kirin tilted his head. Allow me to give you a pop quiz, just to see if you're truly ready. Okay. Naruto had not been expecting this. Are you going to infiltrate the underworld to try to make the Lord of the Underworld's wife your own wife? No. Are you going to drive the Sun Chariot without knowing how to drive? No. If you see Lady Artemis naked and taking a bath, will you propose to her? Naruto suppressed a shiver of revulsion. Absolutely not. Kirin nodded. Good. You passed the quiz. What even were those questions? Naruto asked incredulously. He paused as he remembered the old myths. Oh. Theseus, Phaethon, and Actaeon. Indeed. They were really stupid, weren't they? Kirin sighed sadly and nodded once before changing the topic. This quest is important. It is vital that Artemis is present for the council meeting, and it is even more essential to locate the monster that she was hunting. Please, do not mess it up. Don't worry. I'll succeed. Then Naruto frowned. Are you doing this to everyone? Pardon. Naruto gestured vaguely with his hand. You know, going around and ranting and giving pop quizzes. Of course not. I presume Zoe and Phoebe are lecturing Bianca right now, and I have already given the same speech to Thalia several months ago. Kirin smiled genially. You were the only new person. Naruto chuckled. Alright then. They stopped outside of the Hermes cabin. Well then, I believe that will be all. Good night, Naruto. Good night, Kirin. Now then. I have to go talk to Percy, who is undoubtedly angsting and lamenting over how he wasn't able to join the quest. Kirin sighed. He turned to walk away, but then stopped and called, Oh, and Naruto. Yeah. Good luck. How did it go? Nico asked. Naruto grinned. I'm going on the quest. Awesome. Nico grinned back. Who else is going? Zoe, Phoebe, Thalia, and Bianca. Naruto sat down on the bed next to Nico. It was surprisingly comfortable, although Naruto supposed that Hermes, as the god of travelers, would invest in some nice beds for his own cabin. Bianca's going. Nico looked down, the grin disappearing from his face. Naruto noticed. What's wrong? It's nothing. Nico looked away. Nico. Naruto reached out and touched Nico softly on the shoulder. You can tell me? Nico turned to hesitantly look at Naruto. She already left me to join the hunters. She might die on this quest. And then she'll leave me forever. Naruto really only knew one way to respond to that. I'll protect her for you, Nico. You will? Nico asked hopefully. Naruto smiled. Of course. I'll keep her safe. I promise you that. Just a tip, Travis called, you probably shouldn't make promises that you can't keep. Connor punched him in the shoulder. Hard. Bro, what the hell? Ow. Travis rubbed his shoulder. Look, I don't want to be that guy, but as a counselor, I have to be realistic here. He stood up from his bed and walked over to Naruto and Nico, his customary mischievous expression replaced with a solemn one. People die on these quests. We got lucky on the last 3 quests, everyone lived, but this time, it might be different. How can you say that? Nico glared. Travis sighed miserably. Trust me, I hate it as much as you do. But it's reality. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Wrong. I never go back on my word. Bianca will not die on this quest, I swear it. Travis gazed at Naruto for a moment before giving up. Fine. I tried. Then he gave Naruto a crooked grin. So, all that aside, why don't you show us what else you can do with your chakra? Chakra. Nico's eyebrows scrunched together. It's my unique power, Naruto explained. And I can, dodge attacks with it. And make clones of myself. Travis nodded. Interesting, wait, did you just say you could make clones of yourself? Naruto nodded. Yeah. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A clone appeared next to Naruto. Whoa. Nico gasped in awe. In a flash, Connor and Travis were in front of the clone, staring at it reverently. Do my eyes deceive me? Connor spoke in a higher pitch than usual. I don't think they do, Travis blinked back tears. They both turned to Naruto. The perfect alibi. The perfect accomplice. Please, they chorused, teach us. Naruto chuckled. I'm afraid I can't. Then join us. Naruto paused. In what, exactly? I'm afraid you have to be a little more specific. Connor gained a devious glint in his eyes. I'm talking about the mystical art. The art of pranking. Travis spread his arms wide. Join us. You, me, Connor. The 3 of us will be unstoppable. The 2 anxiously awaited Naruto's reply. Naruto simply gazed at them with an unreadable expression for a few moments. Then he smirked. After the quest is over. Well, let me just say this, Kemp Half-Blood will never forget our names. Connor whimpered. A kindred spirit. It's amazing, Travis agreed. Naruto woke up several hours before dawn. Unfortunately, he didn't have a demigod dream, so he didn't acquire any new information. He looked over. Nico was still asleep in the bed next to him. He left the cabin, careful not to wake anyone, and walked towards the forest. The second he entered the forest, he frowned. What were they doing there? He ambled along, breathing in the crisp, cool air. Finally, after several minutes of walking, he neared the 3 people he had sensed. They had their backs to him, and appeared to be discussing something. Yo! He called out. They whirled around and Naruto's eyes widened as he grabbed a kunai and deflected 10 silver arrows. Whoa! I come in peace. Zoe, Bianca, and Phoebe all had fierce expressions on their faces and were already knocking more arrows into their bows when they recognized Naruto. Oh, Zoe said, lowering her bow. It's you. Naruto. Bianca's hand flew to her mouth in shock. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was you. It's fine. I didn't get hit, Naruto smiled cautiously. What are you guys doing out here? What are you doing out here? Phoebe shot back, a suspicious look on her face. I was walking. Phoebe scowled. Really? Really? Naruto held up his hands in the universal gesture of surrender. So, why did you shoot me? They exchanged glances. Someone's after us, Zoe explained grimly. Naruto frowned. What? Bianca sighed. No, they're only after Phoebe and me. Zoe, I don't think they care about you. Yeah, you should just go back to the cabin. There's no point in endangering yourself, Phoebe added. Zoe shook her head. No. I will not flee when my fellow hunters are in danger. Hold up, Naruto cut in. What do you mean by, someone's after you? First, it was the centaur blood-laced shirt Travis and Connor tried to give to Phoebe, Zoe explained. We had thought that was just an isolated incident. But then, after the counselor meeting, Bianca wanted to get something to eat. A nymph delivered her a plate of snacks, and it was only through luck that our resident poisons expert, Psyche, took a bite first and realized that they were poisoned. Fortunately, Psyche had already built up an immunity to most poisons, and so she is fine. After that, more and more strange events began happening, Bianca continued. My jacket tried to strangle me. My bow randomly exploded, sending shrapnel flying everywhere. Phoebe narrowed her eyes. When that happened, we left the rest of the hunters so they wouldn't get caught in the crossfire. Zoe did another perimeter scan. We came to the forest, where our powers as a hunter are amplified. Couldn't it just be a series of unfortunate coincidences? Naruto was already shaking his head before he finished the sentence. No, never mind. It's never a coincidence. Indeed, Zoe inclined her head. There's someone influencing things from the shadows, an unknown being that is trying to prevent one of us from going on to the quest. They haven't even touched me yet, probably because I'm the leader of the quest, but they're definitely after Bianca and Phoebe. Phoebe scowled and muttered a nasty ancient Greek curse that Naruto will not translate. This is annoying. Who the hell is doing this? Cronus, Naruto said grimly. The temperature seemed to drop by 10 degrees around them. The Titan Lord. Zoe shrugged. Probably. He would certainly benefit from having only 4 people go on the quest. She frowned. That doesn't explain why he's only targeting the hunters, though. Has anything bad occurred to you yet, Naruto? Naruto shook his head. Nope. Odd. Zoe frowned. Why would Cronus only target the hunters? Why not Thalia or Naruto? Did Cronus just not like the hunters of Artemis or something? Or maybe it was because... Naruto tensed up as he suddenly sensed something. Hey, there may or may not be hundreds of giant ants swarming towards us. Zoe blinked. What? Yeah, They're coming for us. And they're really, really fast. As in, Naruto paled. High ground. What? Zoe repeated. High ground. Now. Naruto yelled as he jumped up and landed on a tree branch. A moment later, Zoe, Bianca, and Phoebe were on their own branches, still looking confused. What do you mean by giant ants? Bianca froze as the first wave of giant ants came into view. Oh, she said in a quiet voice. Zoe and Phoebe didn't waste any time talking, instead immediately shooting the ants with arrows. However, the arrows simply bounced off of the ant's black exoskeleton. Oh come on! Phoebe cried. Myrmikis. Why are they here? What are those? Bianca asked with equal parts revulsion and disgust. Myrmikis, Zoe took careful aim and shot an arrow straight into a chink in an ant's armor. It disintegrated into dust, enraging the other ants and causing them to become even faster. That's not good. Myrmikis are giant ants. They have an almost unbreakable armor that celestial bronze cannot pierce, their mandibles can easily crush a demigod, and they spray poison. Naruto did a double take at that. They spray poison? He asked, horrified. Zoe nodded. Yes. I believe our best course of action to take is to Retreat. Hell no. Naruto withdrew a single silver kunai. These are giant ants that can spray poison and crush a demigod. And it's not just one ant, it's a whole swarm of them. You want to just run away from them and leave them be? No, they're all going to die. At this moment, Naruto suddenly regretted not knowing any fire jutsus. These ants deserved a Gokakyu or two. Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A single kunai became several hundred. Flawless execution. This was a jutsu he had perfected recently, although the name was rather misleading. Even though it had shuriken in the name, it could be applied to any projectile, including kunai and senbon. Hundreds of kunai slammed into the Myrmikis with the force of a high-caliber sniper bullet. While the silver wasn't strong enough to penetrate the Myrmiki's hard exoskeleton, enough kunais made their way through the chinks in their armor, killing quite a lot of them. The rest backed up, wary. Naruto smiled in satisfaction. Now, where did he put his explosive tags? He was suddenly aware of several stares on him. He looked over. Bianca, Zoe, and Phoebe were staring at him, their eyes wide in shock. Oh. Yeah, that's my chakra, Naruto grinned. Pretty cool, right? That was. Zoe hesitated. Beautiful, Phoebe finished. A silver rain of death and destruction. You may be a male, but you're not completely useless. Wow. Thanks. You're welcome, Phoebe responded sincerely. Then she sighed. In any event, this has gone on long enough. Zoe, I'm sorry. She took a deep breath. Zoe's eyes widened. Phoebe, what are you going to? Hey. Phoebe shouted to the night sky. You don't want me to go on this quest? Fine. I won't go. So why don't you just chill and stop all these bullshit attacks? Oddly enough, the sky didn't respond. Phoebe, Zoe began, but Phoebe cut her off. No. Whoever is trying to prevent us from going. They're not stopping. I have a feeling that the attacks are only going to get worse from here, and I don't want Bianca or you hurt. This time, it was a Myrmiki's attack. What next? Are they going to send a Hydra after us? Phoebe paused. That wasn't a suggestion, by the way. Once again, the sky did not respond. The choice is clear, Phoebe said. I won't go on this quest. Wait, Bianca spoke up. If anyone should stay behind, it should be me. I'm new, I won't do very well on the quest. Phoebe shook her head, smiling. Don't worry about it. I believe in your skills. This is a good way for you to prove yourself and to grow as a hunter. Zoe nodded. Indeed. Phoebe, if you insist. I do. Very well, then. Zoe sighed regretfully. We won't take you along for the quest. As if on cue, the Myrmikis, who had been warily circling them, immediately began heading back. Naruto itched to kill them, because giant ants, but decided against it. It might harm the ecosystem of the forest if he wiped out an entire species. Well, that takes care of that, Phoebe clapped her hands together. I think we're safe now. Zoe nodded. It appears so. I'll head back to the cabin, get some sleep, Phoebe yawned. Good luck, Zoe, Bianca. Bring Lady Artemis back. And she was gone, sprinting through the forests and disappearing into the night. Naruto stared at Zoe and Bianca. Okay then. That just happened. See you at dawn. Zoe nodded. Yes. Bianca waved goodbye. There were external forces at play. Unknown external forces. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He disliked people who controlled events from the shadows. Like Obito. And Madara. And Black Zetsu. And Danzo. After about an hour of aimlessly walking around and enjoying being in the forest, Naruto made his way back to Thalia's pine tree, the designated meeting place. Yo, Naruto smiled at the dragon, Peleus. No hard feelings, right? Peleus simply observed him, still curled around the base of the tree. Okay then. I'll take that as a yes. Mind if I sit down? Peleus didn't reply, but he did shift around to make room for Naruto. He sat down, back against the tree, the golden fleece overhead. I'm kinda worried, you know. Naruto gazed down at his hand. A being powerful enough to capture Artemis. Can I even fight against them? How strong would they have to be? The primary problem here was that Naruto lacked information. He didn't know how strong a god of this world would be. Apollo has never fought him for real before. He can assume that the gods are about as strong as Kaguya, but at the same time, the demigods at Camp Half-Blood were nowhere near Hagoromo's level. Or even Asura, hell, they weren't even as powerful as a normal human shinobi, like Kakashi. But how much would human blood dilute divine power? Gods were definitely not twice as strong as demigods, so using demigods as a basis of power wouldn't work. He knew that mortals would disintegrate if they even looked upon a god's divine form. Even though Naruto wasn't a mortal, he still had never risked looking at Apollo's divine form before. There was no guarantee he would survive. In the old myths, the biggest display of power Naruto could think of was when Zeus trapped Typhon under Mount Etna, similar to Chibuku Tensei. However, Apollo had once referred to Zeus's master bolt as a weapon that made hydrogen bombs look like firecrackers. Was that an exaggeration, or was it legitimate? And was Artemis close to Zeus's level in terms of power? Zeus was the king of the gods, after all, not to mention being Artemis's father. Naruto sighed heavily. Oh well. It's not as if this wasn't the first time he'd be going into a battle with little to no information whatsoever. It's always worked out before, and this time, it will work again. Because Naruto won't fail. It doesn't matter if he has to fight Cronus and his army of titans all by himself, he will bring Artemis back. You know, Peleus. I'm kinda tired. Do you mind if I take a quick nap? Peleus didn't reply. And Naruto closed his eyes. Eyes. Is this a demigod dream? Naruto gazed around in wonder. He was still asleep, he didn't recall waking up. He was in a dark cave, the only source of light came from the dim glow of a celestial bronze ornament on the wall. Who in the name of night is he? Naruto turned his head to see who had spoken. He couldn't see anything, it was too dark. The voice was raspy and old. Naruto couldn't tell if it came from a man or a woman. I don't know. Another voice snapped, frustration evident. I can't find his string. What do you mean you can't find his string? A third voice spoke up, incredulity and disbelief in its voice. It's literally impossible for us to lose the thread. Well, you find it then. The second voice snapped back. Did any of you misplace it? No. The first voice responded. Before today, I didn't even know that he existed. I don't understand how this is even possible. Even though Naruto couldn't see anything, he could imagine the second voice's person pulling out their hair. If they even had hair. Well, you know what, it is possible, and it's happening right before our eyes. The third voice replied. What should we do? What can we do? The first voice said. Call mother. The second voice suggested. Naruto could almost feel the eye rolling of the other two. You think she cares? The second voice paused. Good point. At this point, the third voice said resolutely, we can only watch for now. Let's see if the situation gets any worse. Agreed. Very well. And the scene before Naruto dissolved, leaving Naruto with two very pressing questions. Who the hell were they? And had they been talking about him? Naruto had expected to gain answers and essential information from a demigod dream, like the dreams the great Toad Sage had. Instead, he received a cryptic vision that left him with more questions than when he had begun. Demigod dreams sucks. Chapter 6, Labyrinth. Team 7. That was Naruto's first reaction when he watched Thalia and Zoe interact. More specifically, they were acting like him and Sasuke. Almost immediately after they'd gotten into the van, Zoe and Thalia had begun arguing. And, looking at the state of things, it's unlikely that they're going to stop. Look, I don't know what thy problem is. Zoe growled. In a battle between Clarice LaRue and Phoebe, Phoebe would clearly win. Thalia scoffed. Yeah, right. Phoebe may have more years of experience, but that's the thing, she only has hunter experience. In an actual fight against a human, she'll be defeated easily. Zoe rolled her eyes. You don't think we hunters spar against each other? Not to the extent that the Ares cabin does, Thalia retorted. Phoebe may be a daughter of Ares, but her training isn't even remotely close to what the Ares cabin does. Ares's children may have many flaws and defects, but one thing I'll give them is that they're good in fights. And a child of Ares that hasn't trained like the rest wouldn't even come close to defeating them in battle. Zoe sighed tiredly. You lack the ability to fully analyze the situation. Phoebe outranges Clarice with her bow, and she's faster and more agile. But she doesn't have strength, Thalia countered. Sure, Phoebe may land 5 blows on Clarice before Clarice even lands one, but the one hit that Clarice lands will be utterly devastating, whereas I doubt Phoebe's punches would do much damage. Zoe narrowed her eyes. Oh? Would you like to put that to a test? By all means, Thalia challenged. When we get back, you, me, Phoebe, sparring arena. I'll even have the Apollo cabin on standby, but I doubt we'll be needing them. Deal. Naruto couldn't help but smile. Yup, they certainly reminded him of when he and Sasuke were fresh genin. He idly wondered if it was a good idea for him to join the quest. Perhaps he should have just run off and looked for Artemis by himself. He quickly dismissed the notion, however. Even back in his old world, he knew better than to run off and look for Sasuke by himself, and the continent he was on was a lot bigger than the elemental nations. Besides, there was one vital reason why he ultimately decided to join the quest group. Prophecy. From what he could tell, prophecies of this world were different than the ones in his old world. The prophecy the great Honorable Toad Geezer had given was vague and broad. Prophecies in this world, however, are relatively clear and specific. Joining the quest group meant having a prophecy made about him. The prophecy is essentially a guide, a step-by-step foretelling of what would happen. For a shinobi, having future knowledge about events was invaluable. Naruto may not be the best shinobi, but even he understood that. By himself, he would be going in blind. Going with a quest group meant having a prophecy that would give him a rough idea of what to expect. Besides, the prophecy literally guaranteed that the quest members would find Artemis. It didn't specify whether or not they would save Artemis, but the fact that the quest members were essentially fated to reach Artemis was too good to pass up. But Naruto glanced around in slight annoyance. Zoe and Thalia were still arguing. Bianca was absent-mindedly staring at her reflection in a knife, though Naruto doubted she was doing it for vanity's sake. And they were moving slowly. Really, damn, slow. Can't this van go any faster? Naruto spoke up impatiently. He knew genin who could run faster than this. Zoe looked back. Naruto. Keep your eyes on the road, Thalia hissed. Zoe turned to her, annoyed. My situational awareness is far superior to thine own. I can drive this van blindfolded if need be. Thalia raised her eyebrows. If we crash, you're the one who gets to explain it to Chiron. Zoe hesitated before looking back to the road once more. On second thought, perhaps we should exercise a little caution. Thalia smirked. That's what I thought. In any case, Naruto, unless your chakra can control traffic, then no, we're stuck at this pace. Zoe nodded. Indeed. We would go a lot faster if we were running, but... She glanced at Thalia derisively out of the corner of her eye. You think you can run faster than a van? Thalia asked incredulously. Definitely, Zoe answered. You can't, however, which is why we're currently in this van, stuck in traffic. She said traffic as it was a foul expletive. The blessings of Artemis grants us a speed far superior to a normal mortal's. Thalia raised her left eyebrow. Well, forgive me for not wanting to be a mindless slave to a goddess. We are not slaves, Zoe snarled, sounding truly upset for the first time since they've started arguing. You know nothing. Oh. Thalia raised her eyebrows. So you're allowed to disobey her. We don't disobey her because we are loyal to her. Thalia scoffed. Right. But even so, Zoe narrowed her eyes and turned to look at Thalia again. Lady Artemis would never command us to do something that's harmful or detrimental for us. We trust her, and she trusts us. She trusts you? Then tell me, what was the monster that she was hunting? Zoe didn't answer. Thalia smirked. Yeah, I can definitely see the trust. You've known Artemis for what, centuries now? And she still didn't tell you that. Centuries? Say what now? Naruto knew that the hunters were immortal, but he never thought they would be that old. He gulped when he realized that Zoe may actually be older than the Sage of Six Paths himself. Lady Artemis didn't tell us what the monster was because she wished to protect us, Zoe finally responded, though her tone was less harsh. As you know, knowledge can increase a demigod's aura, and she likely didn't want us to attract the monster's attention. She was protecting us. Ah, I see, Thalia chuckled scornfully. So you're not willing to risk your life for your precious mistress. If the monster becomes aware of your existence, so what? Zoe glared. The monster she was hunting is capable of bringing Olympus down itself. And? Thalia asked challengingly. I've had the worst monsters Hades could summon hunt me for months. Cronus himself is after me. You don't see me backing down. But you hunters have been by Artemis's side for centuries, and you're still unwilling to face the monster for her. You were there that night, Zoe retorted. We didn't have a choice. Artemis refused to reveal anything. Thalia laughed. So we have a mistress that doesn't trust her hunters' ability to protect themselves, and we have hunters who are too cowardly to demand answers and fight to stand by their goddess's side. She turned to look back at Bianca. Do you see what you've gotten yourself into? Bianca met her eyes challengingly. Yeah, I do. So Lady Artemis cares for us. Too much, perhaps, but the fact is that she cares. Similarly, we hunters trust her judgment enough to not demand answers. The fact that you believe that is truly enough. Zoe slammed onto the brakes, the van skidding to a stop. The hunters may not be perfect, but at least we're a family that won't betray each other. Thalia flinched back as if struck. Leave Luke out of. Zoe whirled on her, eyes fierce and angry. I will not. I had hoped to address this later, but let's do it right here, right now. On this quest, there is a high chance that we will run into that boy. And if so, I need thy word that you will not hesitate to slay him. Of course I won't hesitate. Luke's a traitor. He's dead to me, and yet, despite Thalia's angry words, her eyes told a different story. Her electric blue orbs seemed fragile, like glass that could shatter at any moment. Zoe noticed. Are you sure about that? Can you truly strike him down immediately? I will not fail on this quest simply because thy emotions for that boy is still clouding thy judgment. His name is Luke, Thalia said harshly. Naruto sat up, interested. The guy who stole the Master Bolt. Still glaring at Zoe, Thalia answered, yeah, he is. And wasn't he the mastermind behind the poisoning of your tree? Thalia nodded. Yeah. Naruto suddenly felt very amused. Let me guess. He wants revenge. Yup, Thalia confirmed. Does he have a massive stick up his ass? Thalia paused. What? Never mind, Naruto waved her off. So why did he leave? Why do you care? So I could understand. So we could understand, Naruto leaned forward. And also because we need information. If he is a potential enemy, then we can't fight him without knowing anything about him. But mostly it's so that Naruto could understand. Zoe inclined her head. Naruto has a good point. Why did the bow, Luke leave? Thalia hesitated. Because he hates the gods, she finally said in a quiet voice. Zoe rolled her eyes. No, really? I thought that he loved them. Thalia glared at her. I'm serious. He possesses a seething hatred for the gods. He feels that they have done nothing for him, that all they do is cause pain and suffering. His father, Hermes, leaving him with his sick mother, Zeus abandoning me, Apollo placing a curse on Helicon. Naruto's eyes flickered. Apollo did what now? And, even though I was still a tree during this, I hear that after Luke's quest to retrieve a golden apple from the gardens of the Hesperites, he felt that Hermes didn't care enough about him to give him an original, good quest. He doesn't merely dislike the gods, he completely utterly hates them. I wouldn't be surprised if he wishes to tear down Olympus brick by brick. I'm sorry, Thalia. Bianca reached out and touched Thalia's shoulder comfortingly. Was Luke your friend? Thalia nodded, looking away. Yeah, she whispered. Then her eyes narrowed. No. He was my friend. But now, he's nothing but a traitor to me. You want your guarantee, Zoe? Fine. If I see Luke, then I'll kill him. Are you just going to give up on him like that? Naruto felt a sudden surge of anger. Was she seriously going to give up on Luke just like that? No. There are few things that can enrage Naruto, and this is one of them. You don't just give up on your precious people like that. Naruto didn't give up on Sasuke. But Thalia was just going to give up on Luke? It may seem illogical, in fact, Naruto was well aware that he was acting on his emotions. But if he didn't speak up now, then it would be like spitting on his dream to bring Sasuke back. He's your friend, isn't he? What? No, he's not. That's a lie, Naruto said resolutely. The bond that exists between friends who would die for each other is too strong to be broken that easily. You still wish to bring him back, don't you? Naruto, what are you saying? Zoe asked confusedly. Naruto ignored her, intently staring at Thalia. Never give up, Thalia. As long as he's still alive, then his mind can be changed, and he can be redeemed. But if he's dead, then it's over. Nagato changed. Obito changed. And Naruto hoped that with his death, Sasuke changed as well. Thalia bit her lip, but there was a sudden glimmer of hope in her eyes. Do you really think he'll come back? He may not willingly come back, Naruto admitted. In fact, he'll probably fight you every step of the way. Thalia looked away, deflated. But, Naruto continued. That shouldn't matter to you. If you have to beat him up and drag him back in chains, then drag him. If you have to fight 1,000 battles, then fight them. If you have to take all his hatred for the gods and shoulder it yourself, then do it. He smiled brightly. Because that's what friends do. Thalia's eyes widened before a determined glint appeared in them, but there was still a hint of uncertainty. Do you really think Luke can be saved from his hatred? Naruto thought of Obito and Nagato and Sasuke and so many others. His smile widened. Yeah. I do. Thalia was silent for a moment. You're right. Her eyes flashed angrily. Luke betrayed us all. I'll defeat him in battle, chain him up, and use the full extent of my imagination to create new and creative ways to inflict massive amounts of pain on him. Naruto paused. Hold up, what? Death is too good for him, Thalia declared. I won't kill him. Instead, I'll capture him and make him regret leaving me. Her fingers twitched and arcs of electricity leaped from them. I'll have to ask Chiron for a private room in the big house. Preferably soundproofed. Wait, that's not what I meant. I should invite Annabeth too, Thalia grinned viciously. She also has quite a lot of things to say to Luke. She looked down at her lap. And hopefully, between the two of us, we'll be able to convince Luke to repent, she whispered quietly. And then we could be a family again. Even Zoe didn't say anything for a moment. Just a moment though. You are foolish. Both of you. That boy has already betrayed us once before, and he'll do it again without a second thought. While capturing him would be desirable, there is always the chance that he will escape again. Permanent measures should be taken. And by permanent measure, you mean you want us to kill him, correct? Zoe sighed. Please, do not give me any moral arguments. I have heard them all before. Modern demigods are quite irksome. In the old days, people killed each other all the time. Naruto tilted his head. And did you enjoy the old days? The days where human life was casually disregarded. Zoe paused. I'm not saying that I enjoyed the past. It was not a good time, but at least the heroes of the time did what they had to do. Recently, however, some heroes have refused to kill altogether. Then tell me, what would happen if we killed Luke? Naruto asked. Justice, for one, Zoe answered. He betrayed us all and joined the Titans. By taking revenge and cutting him down, he will be brought to the fields of punishment, where justice will be swiftly delivered. Naruto was quiet for a moment. Even though he was in a different world, it appeared that human nature was the same. We are ordinary people driven to revenge in the name of justice, he muttered, an echo of Nagato's words. Yes, Zoe agreed. We are. But if there is justice in revenge, then that same justice will only breed more revenge. Naruto clenched his fists tightly, and it will trigger a vicious cycle of hatred. Zoe's eyes widened momentarily before she sighed. I see truth in thy words. A cold, Harsh, uncaring truth it may be, but that is the state of the world we live in. And you accept it? Naruto pressed on. You accept that we live in a cursed world? No, not only do you accept, but you embrace it as well? Even knowing that in death there is only more death, you would still ask Thalia and by extension, me and Bianca, to kill Luke. Then what do you want me to do? Break the curse. Zoe raised her eyebrows. It's not that simple. Yeah? Well, I don't get what's so difficult about it. Naruto looked down at his hands. Have you tried talking to them? Understanding them? Hey, Bianca spoke up but was interrupted by Zoe. Understand? What is there to understand? Zoe asked scornfully. He betrayed us for the Titans. Naruto nodded. And he's worse than trash for doing that. But, before today, did you know why he betrayed us? Zoe hesitated. No, but that does not matter. It is the thing that matters the most. Zoe. Bianca tried again, but Zoe ignored her. Matters the most? How does that matter? He hates the gods because he feels that they have abandoned him. So what? How does that fact matter? Because now that I know that, I can understand him. Zoe. Bianca shouted. What? Zoe snapped, turning to look at Bianca. Naruto and Thalia looked at Bianca as well. With everyone's attention focused on her, Bianca flushed slightly, but forged on. We're not moving. During this entire conversation, we haven't driven forward an inch. Zoe sighed. Sad as it may be, I cannot control the traffic. What traffic? Bianca asked, fear in her voice. What did she mean by that? Naruto glanced out the window. It was still raining outside, but there were no cars around. Not a single one. What the hell? Thalia muttered. Everybody out. Zoe commanded. They all got out of the car, staring at their surroundings, ignoring the rain that fell onto them. They were still in the city, and there were buildings all around them. But there were no cars. No people. An eerie, dense fog obscured their vision, causing them to only be able to see about 50 feet in front of them. How didn't we notice? Zoe flicked her hand and a silver bow materialized in it. I don't know. Naruto held a silver kunai in a reverse grip, eyes darting around, scanning his surroundings. In our defense, we were a little absorbed by our conversation. Thalia's spear extended from her mace canister. But what's happening? Naruto glanced over at Bianca. She had also had a silver bow in her hand, but Naruto could see her hand trembling. I'm glad you asked that, a new voice called out from above. Deep, with an odd accent. Zoe, Bianca, and Thalia tensed up as a man calmly strolled forward out of the fog, seemingly out of nowhere. He was impeccably dressed, a brown suit with a blue tie. Thorn, Thalia growled. A wicked smile appeared on the man's face, and Naruto could see that his eyes were different colors, one blue, one brown. Naruto didn't have good experiences with people who had mismatched eyes. How's it going, Thalia? Thorn asked conversationally, absently brushing some lint from his suit jacket. What have you done with Annabeth? Thalia demanded. She slapped the bracelet on her wrist and shouted, Aegis. The bracelet expanded into a bronze shield. Naruto glanced at the surface, and recoiled. The most deformed, ugliest, nastiest face Naruto had ever had the displeasure of seeing was on the shield. Annabeth? Oh, you mean that little girl? Thorn smirked. She's alive. For now. Thalia moved to charge him but Zoe flung out her hand. He's baiting you. Careful. Thorn, what have you done? Thorn tilted his head ominously. What have I done? You mean all of this? He gestured at the scene around them. I can't take credit for the weather or the fog, those were already here. The mortals, on the other hand. Well, a little compulsion magic here, a little bit of mist there, and voila. A zone completely devoid of outside interference. Naruto blinked. Wait. Were you waiting out here the entire time while we were talking? Thorn snapped his fingers. Ah, that's right. What's up with that? What took you guys so long to come out? Zoe, Naruto, and Thalia all determinedly avoided Thorn's stare. Thorn shrugged. Whatever. I did, however, make an epic entrance, wouldn't you say? I'll give it a 6 out of 10 at best, Naruto said. Thorn narrowed his eyes. A 6 out of 10? Really? Really? Naruto paused. Did you arrive on top of several gigantic toads? No, but... Did you arrive unleashing a secret devastating technique that almost single-handedly destroyed us on the molecular level? What are you talking about? Did you arrive with 4 undead leaders of the village with you? Why are you being so specific? Thorn stomped his foot. Enough. I don't have the time to talk with you. I hate getting wet. Naruto stared at him. Wow. Just. Wow. I hate getting wet. What are you, a cat? A manticore? Thorn snarled. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah. See, normally I would love to stop and talk, get the pre-fight banter out of the way, but it just so happens that I'm in a rush today. Someone precious to me is in danger, you see. His eyes flashed dangerously. So I'll only give you one warning. Get out of our way. Let me think, Thorn rubbed his chin. No. That's what I thought, Naruto said from behind him. A flawless substitution with a rock on the ground. Thorn whirled around, surprised, but before he could get a word out, Naruto slammed a Rasengan into his back. Thorn cried out in pain and Naruto caught a blur coming towards him. He jumped back, just in time to avoid dozens of tiny spikes. You're pretty durable, Naruto observed. I expected the Rasengan to one-shot you. He sighed. I guess when it comes to slaying monsters, nothing comes close to celestial bronze. Who are you? Thorn snarled, edging away from Naruto, hissing in pain. A son of a wind god, perhaps. Not quite, Naruto answered before he dashed forward again, another Rasengan forming in his hand, though this one was denser than before, and then stopped and leaped back as he sensed something large approaching. From above, a massive lion crashed down in front of Thorn, unleashing a mighty roar of rage and fury. It had shiny, silvery claws that looked as if it would have no trouble ripping apart steel, and inside its gaping maw, its fangs gleamed menacingly. Thorn smirked. Behold, the Nemean lion. Have fun killing this one. The Nemean lion let out an explosive roar. I'll kill you all. I'll rip you to pieces and devour your flesh. I'll grind your bones to make my bread. Naruto blinked. No way. He can understand animals. Huh. Artemis was the goddess of the wilderness, and apparently, that extended to understanding animals as well. Hey, I have an idea. How about you don't kill us? Naruto suggested. The Nemean lion roared once more. Kill you all. I'll kill you all. Die. The Nemean lion's muscles tensed up as it prepared to pounce. Naruto simply raised his eyebrows and unleashed his killing intent. The Nemean lion froze before all the tension left its body. I changed my mind. I'm not going to kill you after all. Its tone was calm and polite, and a slight tinge of Oxford crept into its accent. Really? What made you change your mind? Well, you know, this and that. The Nemean lion nodded sagely. Naruto grinned as he distinctly recalled the legend of the Nemean lion. Instead of fighting Heracles, the Nemean lion had cowardly hid inside a cave. Clearly, its personality hadn't changed all that much in the past couple thousand years. I'm glad you saw the error of your ways. Now leave. I was never even here. The Nemean lion turned and ran with absolutely no shame whatsoever. Sorry Thorn, but this is way above my pay grade. What do you mean? Thorn yelled after its retreating form. Get back here. The Nemean lion completely ignored him and soon it disappeared into the mist. Thorn turned back to them with considerably less confidence. Now see here, he was cut off by Zoe and Bianca raising their bows. Thalia brandished her spear and a new Rasengan formed in Naruto's hand. Never mind. I'm out. And he turned and melted into the shadows, several silver arrows and a kunai striking the spot where he had stood. Zoe growled. Coward. Naruto, Bianca began hesitantly, what? What was that? Naruto frowned. What? Oh, I can talk to animals. I never knew that. Bianca shook her head. No, I mean. She waved her hand vaguely. Naruto understood. My killing intent. He paused. Oh. You've never been exposed to killing intent before, he guessed. Bianca nodded slowly. It was only then that Naruto noticed a slight tremor in her hand, fear. Killing intent is simply when a person exudes pure killing intention, Naruto explained. I'm sorry if it affected you. It's fine, Bianca said. It was just really scary. It was strong, Zoe admitted. Easily comparable to Lord Ares's. She scrutinized Naruto silently. Good job, Naruto. Fighting the Nemean lion would have been troublesome. Although I must ask, how were you able to communicate with it? Naruto shrugged. No idea. Guys. Thalia spoke up. She was frowning deeply. What is it? Naruto asked. Didn't Thorn say that he created a barrier using mist and magic that kept out the mortals? He did, Zoe nodded. Has thy hearing really deteriorated that much? Thalia ignored her. But now he's gone. Really? I didn't notice. You truly are a genius. Thalia turned to Zoe. Which means the barrier is gone too. Zoe nodded slowly. Yes. Do you have a point? Thalia paled dramatically. But we're currently standing on the road. Zoe's eyes widened. Oh. And a car entered their line of sight, heading straight toward them. Back to the van. Zoe commanded as the car swerved wildly to avoid hitting them. They got in and Zoe started up the van immediately, stepping on the accelerator. For a few blissful minutes, Zoe kept her foot planted on the accelerator, but they soon caught up to the traffic once more. Zoe groaned. Not again, she muttered. We should have just ridden motorcycles. Those things will kill you, Bianca frowned. Zoe simply looked back with an amused look. You're a demigod, Bianca. Bianca flushed. Oh right. I almost forgot. So where were we again? Thalia tapped her fingers against her armrest. No, please, Naruto held up his hand. Look, we're quest mates now. We have to work together. So how about we at least try to get along and stop arguing? Thalia paused. You're right, she decided. Zoe, I may not like you, but... Truce. Zoe looked at her before nodding and grudgingly saying, very well. Saving Lady Artemis is our first priority. Annabeth too, Thalia muttered. And constantly arguing with you will not aid the process in the least. Truce for now. Naruto sighed in relief. Finally, some peace and quiet. Was this how Sakura and Kakashi-sensei felt whenever he argued with Sasuke? If so, he felt kinda bad now. Thorn was more durable than I had expected, Naruto mused. He withstood a shot from my Rasengan. Thorn is a manticore, Zoe explained. Their durability is high, they're capable of withstanding several strikes from celestial bronze. Annabeth stabbed Thorn with her knife, Thalia recalled. He's a strong monster. Next time, you shouldn't rush him like that. It was really risky. Waiting around isn't my style, Naruto frowned. Besides, Thorn isn't even a god. I don't see any risk in attacking him head-on. Thalia stared at Naruto. He's a manticore, she stressed. He was able to take both me and Percy on in combat, and we're both children of the big three. Zoe snorted. That says more about your skill than Thorn's, you know. Oh shut it. Naruto, I don't know how it was when you lived with Apollo, but out here in the real world, these monsters are dangerous and they can and will kill you. Thalia looked away. You may have chakra, but that doesn't mean you're invincible. You still need to be careful. Naruto was silent for a moment. You're right, he finally said. I'll exercise more caution next time. Now that was a lie. While monsters may be dangerous and even lethal to the average demigod, Naruto was not an average demigod. He was a shinobi who had faced threats far larger than any monsters this world had to offer. Thorn may be powerful, but compared to Naruto, he was nothing. Good. Thank you, Naruto, Thalia smiled. Then she tensed. Do you hear that? Naruto tilted his head and listened. Is there a problem? Helicopter, Thalia said. Naruto blinked. Yes. And? The mortal mercenaries had a helicopter, Zoe said grimly as she pulled the steering wheel hard and they veered across 3 lanes into a parking lot. A cacophony of beeps sounded behind them and there was the sound of metal hitting metal. Naruto looked behind them. Hey, you just caused 2 minor traffic accidents. Not the time. The van skidded to a stop and they all got out, looking up at the sky. Perhaps it's just a normal helicopter. Bianca said hopefully. Zoe simply gazed up at it for a moment before shaking her head. It's the same model as the one we encountered at Westover Hall, and I don't believe in coincidences. She squinted. Wait. What is that? It was hard to see through the rain and the clouds, but Naruto could swear there was a black blur darting around the helicopter. Thalia suddenly clenched her fists. No. He wouldn't. There's no way. Naruto looked over, confused. What's happening? Watch, Thalia growled. Naruto frowned but looked up again, shielding his eyes from the rain with his hand. Was the black blur kicking the helicopter? Naruto's eyes widened as he finally got his first clear look. A Pegasus. A black Pegasus. The Pegasus kicked in the helicopter's windshield, shattering it. The helicopter immediately began to spiral out of control, and it began a sharp descent down. Fortunately, there was a small grass field nearby, and the pilot was able to land the helicopter. Not well though, Naruto winced as the sound of metal scraping against metal reached his ears. The helicopter seemed to crumple inward and it tumbled over several times before finally coming to a stop. I am never going to get into a helicopter or a plane ever again, Bianca whispered. I'm with you, Thalia agreed. The Pegasus descended from the sky until it was in front of them. Percy Jackson jumped down and grinned at them. Hey, he greeted. I heard there was a vacancy. Percy. Naruto grinned. You're here. The rest weren't as enthusiastic. Percy Jackson, Zoe said disdainfully. What are you doing here? Well, I thought over what you and Chiron said. And I realized something, I don't care, Percy's sea-green eyes turned serious. You see, Annabeth is my friend, and I'm going to save her. You broke camp rules, Thalia narrowed her eyes. You realize that Dionysus is going to tear you apart, right? Percy grinned. Nah. I already ran into him. The Pegasus whined. You're making it sound like a casual meeting, boss. He wrapped vines around us and threatened to drive you insane and turn you into a dolphin. Naruto's eyes widened as he understood every word the Pegasus said. Magic was awesome. Percy sighed. True enough, Blackjack. At any rate, after our talk, Mr. D agreed to let me join the quest. So here I am. Zoe's fists clenched. Fine. Let's go. We don't have any time to waste. Percy blinked. Wait, so you're just going to let me join, just like that? You are part of his quest now, Zoe said grudgingly. I do not like it, but there is no changing fate. Naruto coughed. About that. Besides, I do not wish to waste my breath arguing with a boy. It is not worth it. Well, now that you're with them, I guess I'll leave, boss. Percy nodded. Graze, or something. I owe you a sugar cube. The Pegasus snorted. Just one. You owe me a large handful at least. Plus apples. I like apples. Whatever you want, Blackjack, Percy promised. And with that, the Pegasus flew off into the sky, and promptly disappeared. Naruto's eyes widened. How fast was that Pegasus? Hey, should we call an ambulance? Bianca asked hesitantly. I don't think the men in the helicopter. Percy snapped his fingers. I knew I was forgetting something, he muttered. I might have been seeing things, but I'm pretty sure that there were skeletons piloting the helicopter. Zoe tensed up. And you didn't think to tell us that sooner. We need to leave. Now. And that was when the van behind them exploded. Percy flung out his hands and let out a roar as the rain suddenly coalesced and formed a solid wall of water, blocking the shrapnel. Zoe scanned the surroundings, her bow already out. There. There was a group of men off in the distance, only their skin was dull gray, their flesh was transparent, and their bones shimmered underneath, like X-ray images. Skeletons. One skeleton warrior reloaded an honest-to-sage RPG and aimed it at them. Scatter! Thalia yelled as she already began running. A moment later, the skeleton warrior fired and the grenade streaked towards them, exploding and sending shrapnel everywhere once more. The van blew up. Percy shouted. Chiron is going to flay us alive. I know. Thalia yelled back as she slapped her bracelet and yelled Aegis. It expanded into a shield with the nastiest face Naruto had ever seen engraved on the surface. We'll talk about it later. For now, run. To where? Anywhere but here. I could kill them, Naruto offered, but Zoe immediately shook her head. Those are Spartoi, Naruto. They cannot be killed. Was that a challenge? That sounded like a challenge. I'm serious, Zoe snapped as they sprinted across the parking lot, the skeleton warriors close behind. We don't have the time to waste for you to figure out how to kill them. We have to go. Naruto sighed but complied. He didn't want to make an enemy out of Zoe just yet. Very well. I'll delay them, then. Zoe frowned. How? Her words died in her mouth as several shadow clones appeared. Naruto grinned at her expression. Did I mention I could make clones out of my chakra? That's awesome. Percy was suddenly running next to Naruto. How strong are they? They disperse after just one punch, Naruto admitted. However. He smirked. I doubt the skeletons will be able to land a hit. Sure enough, after a few minutes, they slowed down to a stop in an alleyway. The skeleton warriors were nowhere in sight. The sound of gunfire could be heard a distance behind them. They're still fighting, Zoe said in surprise. I thought your clones would have died a long time ago. I told you I could fight them, Naruto grumbled. You could fight them, but you couldn't kill them, Zoe responded. Naruto paused. She was correct, he realized as one of his clones dispersed and sent him the memories. The skeletons were being easily torn apart, but they were regenerating instantly, it was like fighting Hidan. What do we do now? Thalia asked. We no longer have a van. Percy, I don't suppose you have any more Pegasi. Percy shook his head. I've got nothing. Naruto? Can your chakra summon a car? Nope. Unfortunate. Percy rubbed his chin. We can always just steal a car, but I'd prefer not to. Perhaps we can hire a taxi. And drive cross-country? I doubt any driver would do it. Naruto ignored their conversation as he approached the alley wall. There was something off, his intuition was practically screaming at him. He examined the brick wall. There. That brick was a different color than the rest. He touched it experimentally, and gasped when a blue delta lit up and the wall collapsed inwards, revealing an opening. Zoe, Percy, and Thalia instantly jumped back at the noise. What is that? Zoe hissed. A tunnel, Bianca said as she walked forward. It's a tunnel that leads downwards and away from here. Zoe frowned. How do you know that? Bianca paused. I don't know, she admitted. I can sense it. I can't really describe it. Should we enter? Thalia cautiously approached the opening, her spear appearing in her hand. No. Absolutely not. Every fiber of Naruto's being was telling him to get the hell out of there. Going underground. Even the thought of it sent a new shiver down Naruto's spine. Apparently, being a son of Artemis meant having an intense aversion to going underground. It made sense, though, the underground was practically the opposite of Artemis's domains. Why? What's wrong? Percy inquired. It's just that I'm getting a really bad feeling. Don't worry, Percy smiled reassuringly. It'll be fine. He gazed at the entrance. I think we should enter. I mean, it's not like we have any other ideas. Besides, we can always exit if it doesn't work. Zoe nodded. This may be an old tunnel left over from the days of the Civil War built by the Hephaestus children. I heard they had tunnels underneath large areas of the US, perhaps this is one of them. Naruto sighed. Fine. Let's go. He didn't like it, but he was never one to run away. Bianca was the one to lead the way, surprisingly. The second they entered the tunnel, she seemed to stand straighter and there was a new strength to her steps. Naruto glanced at her curiously. Odd. It was as if she just entered her godly parents' domain and received a power boost, just like how Naruto was always stronger whenever he was in a forest. Who was her parent? The god of tunnels? The god of the underground? Underground. Underworld. Underworld. Naruto suddenly stilled as his eyes widened. There's no way. But before he could say anything, the entrance behind them shut with a loud clang. Naruto whirled around and immediately jumped back in surprise. There was a solid wall right behind them, the path they had taken was gone, as if it had never existed. Coming down here may have been a mistake, Percy admitted as he uncapped his pen and a glowing bronze sword appeared. Zoe nodded as she drew her own sword. Be careful, she warned. The light from their swords and Thalia's spear cast a dim glow on the walls as they slowly walked forward. They stopped at an intersection. Left, Bianca said without any hesitation. Are you sure? Thalia frowned. Bianca nodded. Yes. Going to the right feels bad. They continued moving for about an hour, navigating the twists and turns. At one point, they had stopped to see a pile of bones on the ground. Human remains. They had quickly moved on. Out of curiosity, Naruto had sent a few shadow clones in the direction that Bianca told them not to go. They had disappeared into the dark tunnels, and dispersed moments later due to a large variety of reasons, including but not limited to, dismemberment, decapitation, defenestration, don't ask Naruto how that happened underground, and large spikes piercing through their bodies. Somehow, every choice Bianca made had been the correct one, and they safely continued their journey down in the tunnels. They rarely talked, the atmosphere was way too creepy for any conversation, and so in the silence, the sound of a fire crackling to life up ahead was like an explosion. They all tensed up as the light from the fire lit up the corridor, revealing a scruffy man. He gave a toothless grin when he saw them and raised his hand in greeting. Hey there, kids. Y'all need to get warmed up. They stared. How stupid do you think we are? Thalia asked incredulously. Are you really going to try to act like a harmless homeless man? The man scratched his head. Yeah, in retrospect, perhaps this wasn't the best idea. He sighed. But I promise you, I mean you no harm. Zoe stepped forward. Who are you? The man raised his hand to his heart, wounded. You don't recognize me, Sweeth, he coughed. That is to say, I do not know who you are and I have never seen you before today. My name is Fred. It's good to meet you. They exchanged glances. In all of history, there has only been one man who continued to call me sweetheart. All the others did it once. Just once, Zoe said darkly. What are you doing here? Apollo. The man sighed as his disguise vanished in a flash of golden light and his normal form replaced it. Damn. Curse my smooth tongue, it failed me when I needed it the most. Apollo flashed them a grin. Heya, campers and hunters. And Naruto. The temperature around them seemed to drop by 10 degrees. Naruto paled considerably as he tried his hardest to turn himself invisible. When that failed to work, he slowly backed up until he was standing behind everyone. Then he spoke. What's up, Apollo? He smiled casually as if he wasn't using his quest mates as meat shields. Apollo took a step forward, his body emitting a bright golden light. After being in the darkness of the tunnel, the intensity of the light was blinding. What's up? He hissed. Is that all you are going to say after what you did? Naruto took a deep breath to ready himself. Then he smirked. Apollo tensed up despite himself. They locked eyes and had a silent staring match, Naruto exuding as much confidence as he possibly could and Apollo trying to determine if Naruto was bluffing once again or if he truly had a hidden surprise. It was bad enough being embarrassed in front of the gods, it was a whole other thing to be humiliated in front of the ladies. And Percy, of course. Percy watched the standoff with confusion. Naruto? What's wrong? Apollo and I had a mild disagreement before I left for Camp Half-Blood. Naruto tilted his head. Did I not mention that? Nope. Huh. My bad. Naruto surreptitiously reached into this kunai pouch, looking for his smoke bombs. If things turned ugly, he did not want to be trapped with an enraged Apollo in a confined space. Sure, there was a chance that he might die if he ran into the wrong tunnel, but quite honestly, Apollo scared him more. He blinked as a spark of inspiration hit him. Wait. What am I doing? Apollo shrugged. No idea. A smart demigod would be running away screaming right now. Why are you still here talking? Naruto shook his head, a smile slowly spreading on his face. No, that's not it. You can't do anything to me, he breathed. I'm on the quest now. I'm protected by the ancient laws. Apollo narrowed his eyes. Is that truly what you think? Naruto nodded. Yup. I'm calling your bluff, Apollo. A moment. 2. Then Apollo deflated. You're right, he sighed. As much as I want to inflict some painful punishments on you, now that you're on the quest, any direct interference from me is prohibited. Even me being here right now is risky. Naruto silently breathed a sigh of relief. That's what I thought. So, what are you doing here? Apollo tapped his chin. Let's see here. Ah, yes. What in the name of Hades are you doing in the labyrinth? Zoe's eyes widened. We're in the labyrinth. Yup. Which just begs the question, why are you guys down here and how haven't you all died a gruesome death yet? Wait, labyrinth. Percy spoke up confusedly. The thing the Minotaur was trapped in. Apollo nodded. Indeed, Percy. The labyrinth, Daedalus' greatest and most terrible creation. A living underground maze that extends across the entire world. Also renowned for being a death maze that most beings who enter do not exit. Percy blinked. Naruto, what did you get us into? How is any of this my fault? Naruto protested. You were the one who opened up the entrance in the first place. Yeah, but I explicitly said that we should not go down here. Ah, so it's Naruto's fault. I see, that makes sense, Apollo nodded in understanding. Excuse me. But I don't get it, Apollo shook his head confusedly. How are you guys still alive and sane? You've been down here for half a day already. Half a day. Zoe repeated. How? We've been down here for an hour at most, she paused. Time flows differently down here, she guessed. Apollo nodded. Correct. At any rate, how are you all alive and sane? If you've been moving non-stop for an entire hour, then it's virtually impossible for you guys to have guessed the safe path to take every single time, it goes against mathematics itself. It was Bianca, Thalia spoke up. Apollo turned his gaze to the newest hunter. Oh? Elaborate. She was the one to lead us, Thalia explained. At every intersection, she always chose the correct path, with the alternate paths being lethal. Naruto sent in clones to check. Apollo stared at Bianca, who slowly began to flush under the intensity of his gaze. I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to do that? A daughter of Tik, the goddess of luck, perhaps. Apollo mused, ignoring her. Or maybe even Hecate, the labyrinth utilizes vast amounts of mist to function. I don't know, Bianca shrugged helplessly. Apollo scrutinized her. Whatever. You all need to get out of the labyrinth now. When you're down here, you're shielded from the vision of the gods, and by extension, their help and assistance as well. I've heard stories of dead souls that hid from Hades and then ate themselves by hiding in the labyrinth. Besides, even though you've been lucky so far, there's no guarantee that the labyrinth won't lead you straight into Tartarus, or something. He paused before muttering under his breath, "This isn't your quest anyways." Thalia frowned. "Then how did you find us if the labyrinth shields us from view?" Apollo grinned. "I have awesome prophecy powers." "Then can you tell us where Artemis is?" Apollo's face darkened. "I know a lot, and I see a lot. But even I don't know that. She's clouded from me. I don't like it." "And Annabeth?" Percy spoke up. Apollo frowned. "Oh, you mean that girl you lost?" "I don't know." "What about the monster Artemis was hunting?" Zoe asked. "Do you know what it was?" "No," Apollo shook his head. "Yeah, I can definitely see just how awesome your prophecy powers are," Naruto muttered dryly. "Hey, give me a break," Apollo defended. "Prophecies and visions come to me, not the other way around. Besides, I'm fairly certain Artemis is in a foreign domain, which is why I am unable to locate her. As for the monster, however, there is one who may know. His name is Nereus, the old man of the sea. You can find him in San Francisco. He has a long memory and a sharp eye, and he may possess knowledge that even my oracle doesn't know." "But it's your oracle," Percy protested. "Can't you tell us what the prophecy means?" Apollo sighed dramatically. "You might as well ask an artist to explain his art, or ask a poet to explain his poem. Basically, he's saying that he has no clue," Naruto summarized. "But seriously? None at all?" Apollo hesitated. "Contrary to popular belief, not everything is fated or predestined to happen. Some things are, yes, but for the large part, there are infinite possibilities, and even a god cannot know them all. Prophecies are vague for a reason. While they always come true, the process in which they come true is malleable. Just like how there are many ways to kill a human, there are many ways for a prophecy to realize itself." He frowned. "That was a bad analogy." "Terrible," Naruto agreed. "But dang. For the god of prophecy, you're kinda useless." Apollo's eyes flashed dangerously as Percy, Thalia, and Zoe slowly backed away from Naruto. When she saw that Bianca wasn't moving, Zoe reached out and pulled Bianca away as well. "Naruto," Apollo began exuding a menacing aura. "I may not be able to touch you while you're on this quest. But once it is over." His fingers twitched. "You will rue this day." Naruto paused. "If you're trying to be scary, you're not very good at it. I mean, who even uses the word rue?" The menacing aura vanished as Apollo pouted. He actually pouted. "You think? I admit, Father is better at being dramatic than me, but I think my execution was pretty good." Naruto chuckled, thinking of Nagato and Obito, hell, even Zabuza. "Trust me, if you want to do scary, you're going to have to try really damn hard." Naruto." Zoe began cautiously. "You do know what he did to that one satyr?" "That never happened," Apollo instantly said. "I deny all accusations." He winked at Thalia. "Don't listen to Zoe, she's just trying to besmirch my good name." And he shot her a dazzling smile. Naruto watched in horror as Thalia blushed. Was this Apollo's womanizing ways that Artemis warned him about? Apollo snapped his fingers. "Well, in any case, you guys should probably leave the labyrinth before lava comes pouring in, or something. My prophecy powers may not be telling me where Artemis is or what monster she was hunting, but it did tell me that you should go straight ahead, take a right, take another right, go through the false wall, then go up. There should be an exit there. Good luck, heroes. You'll need it." "Thanks Apollo," Percy grinned. "No problem. Oh, and one more thing. Naruto." Apollo waited until he commanded Naruto's full attention. Then he smirked. "I'm banning Hestia from making ramen for the next month." And he vanished in a flash of golden light. Naruto stared off into space, unmoving, as still as a statue. "Naruto? Are you alright?" Thalia asked in concern. A single tear trickled down Naruto's cheek. He can't do this, he whispered. He can't. I'll stop him. Right. Well, if we truly are in a death maze, we should probably get out. What did Apollo say we should do again? Follow me, Bianca said determinedly. I know the way, I can sense it. Percy stared at her with an unrecognizable expression. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Did he also have the same suspicions as Naruto? Were you bitten by a spider when you were little? Percy asked. Naruto face-palmed. Nope, never mind. Bianca frowned. No? Why? Percy shrugged. It's as if you have a spidey sense. What? Percy scrunched his eyebrows together. You know? One of Spider-Man's powers? His spidey sense. Who's Spider-Man? Bianca asked confusedly. Percy paused. You don't know who Spider-Man is? Bianca shook her head nervously. No. Should I? But how? Percy looked lost. How about Iron Man? The Hulk? Never heard of them. Percy scratched his head. Huh. That's odd. He shrugged. Whatever. Spider-Man is a superhero who was bitten by a radioactive spider and got special powers, one of them being his spidey sense, which gave him a sixth sense, kinda like how you're navigating the labyrinth. Oh. Thanks, I guess. Percy smiled. You're welcome. The wall in front of them collapsed as Naruto located yet another blue delta and touched it. They walked out to find themselves outside of a boarded-up taco shop that looked like it had shut down a long time ago. There was a junkyard across from it. Mountains of old cars, appliances, and other scrap metal that seemed to go on forever. A sign on the side of a post office that read Gila Claw, Arizona. It was nighttime, and the stars were out. No way, Thalia breathed. That's impossible. There's no way we could have traveled thousands of miles in just a few hours. Time and space is distorted within the labyrinth, Zoe surmised. Naruto's eyes widened. So you're saying that going just 1 meter in the labyrinth might mean going an entire mile in the real world? Zoe nodded. I do not know the exact conversion rate, but in essence, yes. Was the labyrinth its own dimension? What sort of space-time magic was involved? This was insane. What should we do now? Bianca asked. Zoe examined the junkyard. Apollo led us to this exit for a reason. There's probably something essential in the junkyard, perhaps an enchanted vehicle that will allow us to reach San Francisco. Thalia shrugged. Perhaps. Let's check it out. She was interrupted by a blazing light from down the road. The headlights of a car appeared out of nowhere. Naruto tensed up. Did the skeleton warriors reach them? There was no way. A deathly white limousine slid to a stop in front of them. The back door of the limo opened right next to Percy. Before he could step away, the point of a sword flicked out, and was promptly blocked by a kunai. Naruto glared at the occupant in the car. Fortunately, it wasn't a skeleton warrior. Oh? Kid, not bad. A man stepped out of the car and Naruto pushed chakra to his muscles to continue pushing the sword back. His arm shook slightly. Whoever the man was, he was strong. A big man with a crew cut, a black leather biker's jacket, black jeans, a white muscle shirt, and combat boots. Wraparound shades hid his eyes. Ares, Percy growled. Ares glanced at Naruto. At ease. He snapped his fingers and Naruto's kunai fell to the ground. Another kunai replaced it almost immediately. The war god's eyebrows rose in surprise. Kid, this is a friendly meeting. Unless, of course, you insist it not to be, in which case I will gladly oblige. He smirked. Naruto hesitated. Besides almost taking off Percy's head, Ares hadn't made any threatening moves. Lower your sword, Naruto said. Ares chuckled. Very well. His sword disappeared from view. Satisfied, Naruto lowered his kunai as well. You have a good reaction time, Ares said in approval. Naruto inclined his head. Thank you. You're pretty strong yourself. What are you doing here, Lord Ares? Zoe asked cautiously. Ares shrugged. Well, I was going to get some. Let's just say, happy time, if you know what I mean. He raised his eyebrows suggestively. Zoe recoiled in disgust. Sadly, my lady decided that she wanted to see a certain piece of shit. He means me, Percy explained helpfully. Your lady? Who is that? Thalia frowned. Ares looked over at her. Well, well. Thalia, daughter of Zeus. You're not hanging out with very good company. Well, except for the kid. He's not half bad. What's your business, Ares? Thalia asked. Who's in the limo? She paused. Oh. It's her, isn't it? Ares grinned. Indeed. Well, she only wants the piece of shit, so the rest of you, scram. We will not leave Percy alone with you, Lord Ares, Zoe said respectfully, but there was a hint of steel in her voice. Ares heaved a heavy sigh. See, here's the thing. I'm already in a pretty shitty mood tonight. I like my happy time, you see, and because of you guys, I'm not getting it. So I'm warning you, don't push me. Go get yourselves some tacos, or something. Naruto looked over. The taco place is closed, he observed. Ares snapped his fingers and the lights inside the shop suddenly blazed to life. The closed sign flipped to open and the boards flew off the door. You were saying? I stand corrected. It's fine, Percy spoke up. I'll handle this. Ares grinned. You heard the piece of shit. He's big and strong. So leave. Now. Naruto hesitated before turning around. Have Naruto stay. A female voice called out from inside the limo. Naruto whirled around, surprised. Ares frowned. Who? Oh, you mean the kid? All right. He motioned at Naruto. You heard her. Stay. Naruto shrugged, taking it in stride. All right. Zoe, Bianca, and Thalia shot them one last concerned glance before heading over to the taco restaurant. Ares regarded Percy with a look of loathing, then opened the limousine door like a chauffeur. Get inside, punk. And mind your manners, she's not as forgiving of rudeness as I am. Then he turned to regard Naruto. Kid, I have no idea why she wants to see you, but try not to anger her. You make a fine warrior, and I would hate to see your life be destroyed. That wasn't ominous at all. They got into the limo and Percy's jaw promptly dropped at the sight of the woman. Naruto didn't notice, however. The second he saw her, Naruto froze and his thoughts screeched to a halt. Slender. Long, dark blue hair. Pale violet eyes. Ah, there you are, Percy. Hinata. Naruto whispered. She turned to him, confused. What? No. It wasn't Hinata. She looked like her, but she had none of Hinata's innocence or charm. Who are you? Naruto demanded. The woman smiled. I am Aphrodite. The goddess of love. Oh shit. This wasn't good. That's it for part 3. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.